A federal judge in Massachusetts said Wednesday the Trump administration's deportation of 8 migrants, quote, unquestionably violates a court order blocking deportations to third countries without allowing detainees to contest their removal. The Department of Homeland Security did not confirm the whereabouts of the flight, which left from Texas Tuesday, but immigration lawyers say they were told it was headed for war-torn South Sudan. The State Department has issued a warning for Americans not to travel there due to violent crime, kidnapping, and armed conflict. DHS officials say the 8 men were in the U.S. illegally and came from Cuba, Laos, Mexico, Myanmar, South Sudan, and Vietnam. A spokesperson defended the administration's decision to deport them Wednesday, claiming they're convicted criminals.
Every single one of them was convicted of a heinous crime: murder, rape, child rape, rape of a mentally and physically handicapped victim. While we are fully compliant with the law and court orders, it is absolutely absurd for a district judge to try to dictate the foreign policy and national security of the United States of America.
District Judge Brian Murphy previously ruled the government must allow detainees to either consent to their removal or be given the chance to challenge it. Attorneys for the Justice Department say the judge's order was, quote, not specific enough, which led to a misunderstanding. For more, let's bring in CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez. So, Camilo, the judge could order the Department of Homeland Security to conduct reasonable interviews with the migrants on the plane.
Yes.
What does that mean? And again, do we know the whereabouts of the plane?
It's a critical question, both of them. So what we do know is that Judge Murphy back in April said that the administration could not carry out third country deportations unless it provided detainees, 1, notice of the destination country and also notice to their counsel and lawyers, but also 2, a chance to say, I am scared of going to this third country because I fear I could be persecuted or otherwise victimized in that country. And what Judge Murphy is saying is that this flight that appeared to be on its way to South Sudan did violate this order because he said that these migrants were not given a meaningful and reasonable chance to make that contest and to fight their deportation. He said the migrants were put on this plane just 24 hours after being notified that they faced deportation to South Sudan and that they were never screened by asylum officers for any type of concern of being persecuted there. And now he suggested in this hearing today that he could very well order the administration to interview these migrants, maybe overseas. We do not know the current whereabouts of those detainees. They could be in a place in Africa, for all we know, but the administration could very well be forced to interview these detainees to make sure that they are not facing harm in South Sudan if they are deported there.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because there are so many cases right now, but some of the Supreme Court justices have said 24 hours is likely not sufficient notice, right?
And that is for the Alien Enemies Act case, which is that wartime authority that the administration has been trying to cite to deport suspected members of Venezuelan
the amount of notice
gangs. Well, lawyers for this group of migrants are saying that the notice in this case should actually be much more broad and that it should be broader in scope and that the time for the notice should be longer because this is immigration law, not a wartime authority that is extraordinary in scope.
Okay, a couple more stories that you have been following. So a federal judge has ordered detained Columbia University graduate student Mahmoud Khalil permission to see his wife. This comes after ICE initially refused to let him see his family, including his newborn son. What's the latest?
Well, Mr. Khalil continues to be detained by ICE in Louisiana. He, of course, missed the birth of his son a few weeks ago. His wife and their son have gone to Louisiana to try to meet with him. According to Mr. Khalil's lawyer, the family said that they wanted to be able to hold Mr. Khalil's hands and for Mr. Khalil to hold on to his newborn son. According to emails that we have reviewed, the facility, which is operated by a private prison company that works with ICE, did not consent to that request because it argues that it has a no-contact visitation policy, that people can come and visit their loved ones or their clients in ICE detention, but cannot touch them.
There is an update in Jimena Arias Cristobal's case. She is the 19-year-old woman who was stopped. She'd been living in Georgia since I believe she was 4 or 5 years old. She was stopped in a traffic stop The traffic violations against her have been dropped, but she was still in custody because she's accused of being in the country illegally. What's the latest in her case?
What we do know is that an immigration judge today in Georgia did grant her bond, and she will be released as soon as tomorrow, we understand, and will be able to continue her immigration proceedings outside of an immigration detention center. And that really is a critical point, Lindsay, because even though she will be released, because the judge found that she is not a public safety threat or a flight risk, she still will face deportation to Mexico because ICE has started that deportation case against her. But now she will be able to continue that case outside of a detention center.
Okay, Camilo Montoya-Galvez, thank you.